Okay. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
So, can you tell us about the information of walking netball in Scotland?
Yes, of course. What do you need?
How many clubs are running in netball?
Okay, so at the moment we have about 18 clubs throughout Scotland. We have 4 or 5 clubs up in Aberdeen, in the north, Fort William, around the Aberdeen area. We have a couple in the Central Belt, Stirling. There's one in Dundee, Carnoustie.
Yes.
And then we've got a few in Edinburgh, down in the Scottish borders, Peebles in the Scottish borders, and a couple over in Glasgow.
How many people there normally are in those?
So we have around about, in each session, we have between 8 and 15 people. Throughout Scotland, we have 275 people that we know of enjoying walking netball at the moment.
So would you consider this walking netball program is having a big success?
Yeah, it's definitely successful. It's, I suppose, a bit of a slow burner. It's quite difficult to get ladies and men through the door in the first place. That's our big struggle, I suppose. I think they are conscious of coming to play sport. They're wary that they might not be able to keep up with some of the other people who are here. And I think it just frightens them a bit actually coming into the sports hall and joining in. So we really do encourage them to come along, and they don't have to join in. They can just watch and see what we get up to, and get them in that way. And once they're in, and they don't go.
So those people who didn't play netball, but who joined you, participate, and then they never leave.
They don't leave, no. Generally not. I mean, we've lost a few, but not very many. They come and they love it, and I try to make them understand that they might come to session and it will take them a couple of months to be able to do stuff and be able to keep up with maybe some of the people who have been coming longer. That it won't happen just overnight. They'll have to practice and enjoy it, and they do, and they love the netball and they love the social side, and it's all very welcoming, and we try and get them in that way.
So you think the reason why our numbers are not that high is because those women, they worry about?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very new. So we've only been doing it for the last 12 months now. So it's a very new product that we're sort of rolling out. We advertise as much as we can on social media and posters, things like that. And I think it's just it is getting women through the door, and men. We do say men can come along as well, but we've only got, I think, 2 men, and it is getting them to see a poster and to come down.
Some people say it's the fear of unknown.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it is because quite a lot of people haven't played netball before, so. It's quite daunting coming into somewhere where they say we're going to go play netball, and they might not know the rules, so they think, oh well, I can't go because I don't know the rules, or I don't know what I'm doing, so they don't come, which is a shame.
Yes. So in the first focus group, we talk about people worrying about get injured, and you ask the ladies, would that be a concern for them to get engaged in sports? What do you think of this?
So what they're worried about?
Would they worry about potential risk of getting injured?
Yeah. I think generally I haven't had that many people worried about getting injured. It's perhaps they're not letting me know. Perhaps it's in the back of their minds. But they don't think that they're gonna. They don't come and they're not worried with me. And what I try and do is I try and prevent an injury, so we warm up, we do some stretches, I make sure they cool down at the end of the session. I encourage them to stretch their arms because they'll have used their arms a lot. So we try very hard not to have any injuries. Whilst they're playing netball as well, there's certain things that I'll tell them to do, that they need to turn their hips and make sure they walk forward. They're not allowed to walk backwards, and if I see them walking backwards, I'll stop the session and I'll say, you're walking backwards, you need to make sure you're walking forwards. And,
yes.
So I do try and prevent as many injuries as I can. I think they are all probably a little bit worried they're going to get injured, but that doesn't stop them coming. I don't think that's the key to getting people through the door. I don't think they're worried about. I think they're more worried about how they might look.
Oh, you mentioned about you are advertising as much as you can, but from the questionnaire I've got, they come to Walking Netball through a friend.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of them do. What we do is we put stuff. We have adverts for Facebook, and when I go to a session, they set up Walking Netball. They get copies of posters, and then the sports centres will put the posters on their Facebook pages, and they'll put the posters up around their sports halls and things. However, through a friend seems to be a really good way of getting to people. And I think if you've got a friend who comes down and enjoys it, it's much easier to get that person through the door than if they've seen a poster on the wall. If they've got a friend who's there having fun, they'll turn up and have fun.
Yeah, you also mentioned about if you set up a session in this club and 6 months later there will be a big difference.
Yeah.
Yes. How would you describe
so just their ability. So they're fitter. Their ability to do something is better because they've practiced it. So, for example, today I had a new lady who was 80, or 81 actually, and she was very worried that perhaps she was out of her depth because the ladies who I've had coming to this session today have been coming for a year. Every week pretty much for a year, so they know the drills and they know how they work, and they're not stopping and thinking about it. They just know how to do it now because they've been doing it for so long, whereas she felt that she didn't know how to do it, and I had to say to her at the end, it's because these ladies have been practicing, so they're aware of how to do it, and you'll get like that, but this is your first session. So don't worry and come and join in, and it's okay. And if you think it's too complicated, you can sit out for a bit and watch and join back in. So yeah, I have to I have that conversation quite often with people, and also I'll go back to sessions where I haven't been for 2 or 3 months, and I'll see an amazing difference, and they'll have come on so much. They'll be fitter and they'll be more capable of doing the drills, and their hand-eye coordination's improved, so they're catching and they're not dropping the ball and things like that. So
how about the environment between players?
They'll know each other better, and they'll read each other better. They'll know how each other plays. So yeah, they just get to know each other and socially, and it's still fun and a lot of laughing. But yeah. What
do you think that Walking Netball attract those Asian population the most? Why they come here? In your opinion?
I think because they enjoy it and they have fun and they like seeing their friends. And a lot of the ladies in this group particularly didn't know each other before they came. So they've got new friends. And I think that's quite nice when you're over 50 to meet new people. I think a lot of people have got set friends who they've known for years. And then to come to a group where they can meet some more people who are like-minded and enjoy playing netball. And they talk about the netball and they talk about different things that they've done and they've enjoyed at netball. So they've got something in common, and it's new people. And it's fitness, but they don't realise they're doing it. It's quite a nice sport that they're working quite hard, but they don't realise they are because they're walking.
I can take that. So we were talking about the social aspect and the fitness, keeping fit so they can enjoy. Okay, so what's the future plan for Walking Netball in Scotland?
Well, Netball Scotland, as far as I'm aware, expect to just carry on rolling it out. They'd like it everywhere. They'd like lots of different towns to do it. So hopefully it will continue to roll out across Scotland.
So expand plan?
Yeah.
How is going to expand?
Well, at the moment, my role is being funded by Sports Scotland. So Sports Scotland have funded this year. And what I presume will happen is that Sports Scotland may then help Netball Scotland continue to to fund the role and
Oh,
have someone work for them to roll out.
so Sport Scotland will help Netball Scotland.
Yes, absolutely.
And then
Fund the role, yeah, and get it rolled out to as many places as possible.
give more fundings
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
So, what do you think of the competitiveness side of those players?
I love it. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time it's brilliant. I have to tell them to slow down, and I suppose this crosses with the injury side of things. So the more competitive they get, more likely they are to injure themselves because they start to run and they start to do things faster and they start to not concentrate on what they're doing and they forget that they're not supposed to be running and they're so while I love it, I also have to try and keep a lid on it because I don't want anyone to get hurt. And it starts off very fun and then they get more and more competitive. But it's nice competitive. It's not they're not mean or anything like that. And they all come off and have cups of tea and coffee, so no one's upset or anything.
So why do you think they stop worrying? Why do you think they start to get competitive?
I think it's just in their nature. I think they've probably always been competitive.
The nature of the sport or the nature of
I think it's the nature of the player, yeah. And I think of course it's the nature of the sport as well. And they'll have they're scoring goals, so they know we don't keep score or anything like that, so they don't know how many goals, but generally if someone's maybe scored a few more goals than you, so they do know, they are sort of keeping track a little bit. And some of the games we do, it will be who can shoot the most, so there is that aspect of it. And it just starts, so they get a bit more competitive, and I just need to keep an eye on it because that's when they do injure themselves.
Why do you think Netball Scotland wants to, publish this Walking Netball program?
I think that it's. I think before this year started, walking football was a big. It has really grown and is now a huge thing across Scotland.
Walking football.
Yeah, and I think Netball Scotland saw that there was a hole, if you like. So we do competitive netball and we do netball for children, for schools, and we have what we call bounce back netball, which is recreational. So if you don't want to play competitive, you come to recreational netball, and that's more for mums or people who want to get back in it but don't want to be too competitive. So I think there was then another sort of gap for walking netball because it was for people who maybe couldn't go to recreational netball because it was still too fast for them and they needed something else to go to. So there was a gap in the market, and Netball Scotland realised that, so they put it on, and it's already ran in England for a year or so before we started. So walking netball was in England as well. So
is it like specifically to Asian population?
No, it's for all abilities. So what we've opened it up to is, of course, over 50s, but you might have someone who has injured their knee and they can't run at the moment, so it's for them to keep coming. Amputees, they might find that they can't walk anymore, so they can come. We've sort of opened it up to everybody. So generally we pick up over 50s.
Oh,
generally, yeah. But we have some people who may be suffering from a long-term illness where they struggle, to run and things, and they might come along. So it is open to everyone, but generally it's over 50s who we attract.
Yeah. What do you think of those participants who are over 50? Their age concerns. Those stereotypes about them doing sports. What do you think of it?
I understand that there are, but I think they come to this and they enjoy it and they love it, and I think as long as they can get to a class like this and they can forget about all those sorts of things, and that's my box is ticked, I've done my job, and I think they do come here and they forget about everything and they have fun, and yeah.
Would you see yourself, in the future?
Playing, yes, walking netball, yeah.
Like them?
Yes, I would. I think it comes to everyone eventually. And yeah, I still play competitive netball at the moment. But I appreciate I am probably the older end of people who play competitive netball. I'm getting to that point where I'm a bit older. And I'll probably look at going to rec netball sooner or later where it's not competitive. And then eventually, if I thought that was the only thing I could do and I couldn't run around on a court anymore, then yeah, absolutely, I would go to walking netball.
So you think walking sports, walking netball, this kind of program provide a platform for the Asian population to do sports?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. It does, totally, yeah. And I think, I don't know, with me, it was interesting to hear Pat say that, she knows that she can't run around on court anymore and this is for her. Whereas I think, I'll be able to run around still when I'm 70. And I'm sure Pat would have said, yes, I thought that too, and now I can't. And so I think it's nice that that's there for people, who for all of us who will eventually realise, no, we can't always run around and we will be able to carry on playing sport.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned about it's having a success now, our programs. How do you measure the success?
Well, everybody who comes to Walking Netball gets affiliated to Netball Scotland. So we take, we only need a few details. We take their name, their date of birth, and they come down, and then we log it onto our systems at work, and that's how we monitor how many we've got.
If a local organisation says to you that they want to set up a walking netball session, how would you assist them?
So I would send them all the sort of paperwork, the posters. I would speak to them about their hall hire.
Hall hire? So
they have to hire, they'd need a hall with a netball court, with netball posts. So they would need to find that facility, if you like.
Hall hire means?
So the hall,
hall, yeah.
To hire the hall, yeah. So they would need
rent facilities.
Absolutely, rent the facilities. So I would need to make sure they had netball lines, netball posts. Not all facilities have them, so they would need to. By the post, we can play netball without the lines. It's not quite the same, but we can do it, and I have done it. And then I would help them advertise the groups, posters, social media, and then what I would do is I would go along generally for the first 3 weeks and I would run their sessions for them, and then we have what I call a resource pack, and I would train their facilitator who would run the session, or the coach, on how we want it to be run and how we guide people through it, and then I leave them to it. Fingers crossed if they've got enough people.
So you will train them.
So we train them, we go in. Generally, they're netball coaches, so they know what's expected anyway. But on occasions, they're not. So we've got ideas and things for them.
Let me see if there are any other things I want to cover. I guess basically we cover everything. If anything I need to ask, I will email you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Is it possible that you return me the answer?
Yes, of course.
So I can use that.
Yep, no problems.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
Thank you. That was great. I'm glad you got to speak to Pat as well.
Yeah.